Tonight on Reporting Scotland, some mental health patients wait years to leave acute units because there's no suitable care in the community. Calls for an investigation into Fife's child protection system after a BBC programme raised concerns about the deaths of 3 children. A charity raises doubts that baby boxes can reduce cot deaths. A third of black and ethnic minority Scots have experienced discrimination in the last 2 years, according to research.
This is my dad, Bob Ballantyne. He survived.
What happened when the daughter of a Piper Alpha survivor met the man who led the inquiry into the disaster? And Celtic booked their place in the playoffs for the Champions League, but who will they face next? Good evening. At least 19 mental health patients in Scotland have been stranded for more than a year in acute hospital units because suitable support in the community couldn't be arranged for them, according to research by the BBC. The Mental Welfare Commission says the figures are unacceptable. Our health and social care correspondent Shelley Joffrey reports.
Does it deal with the challenges of life in the long term? Do you get better at dealing with life if alcohol's in the picture? No.
Everyone here has alcohol-related brain damage. They don't need hospital care anymore. One man was moved here after 4.5 months on a ward.
There was 5 of us on the ward and it was very noisy and I couldn't get to sleep. I asked for sleeping tablets, so it gave me nightmares. And then they gave me tablets to stop the nightmares. This was a godsend.
The 10-bed unit frees up space in hospitals for those who need clinical care. Before this place opened, the average length of stay for residents in hospital was 54 days. That's down now to 27 days. And the number of hospital readmissions has dropped too. But demand far outstrips supply.
We've constantly got a waiting list for people to come here. And some people are stuck here, not a lot, but there is 1 or 2 can be stuck here because there is nowhere for them to go, because the appropriate resource isn't available.
Research for the BBC found 3 Scottish health boards, Lothian, Tayside and Greater Glasgow and Clyde, each with a patient stuck in hospital for more than 3 years. On the day in February the question was asked, nearly 30% of Tayside's patients were ready to leave, 11% in both Lothian and Lanarkshire, and nearly 9% in Ayrshire and Arran.
This is a human rights issue. These are people who are in hospital where they don't need to be and sometimes don't want to be. They may have been detained in a hospital under the Mental Health Act and they're being required to stay there for substantially longer periods than they need to be for their clinical needs. And that just isn't acceptable. It does need to be addressed.
This mental health charity worries about the impact on patients' health.
If they're in the wrong place, particularly those who are living with conditions where they're maybe more predisposed to feeling anxious, and their resilience in terms of how they support their own recovery from their condition is more compromised, and being in the wrong place potentially makes things worse, not better.
The Scottish Government says it's spending an extra £500 million this year to help more people live in the community rather than hospital. Shelley Joffrey, Reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
There are calls for an independent investigation into Fife's child protection system. Scotland's preparing to follow Finland's example by offering expectant mothers a so-called baby box. But a charity has raised doubts that the boxes can reduce rates of infant mortality. The Lullaby Trust also expressed concern about there being no safety standard for a cardboard box being used to sleep a baby. But the Scottish Government says it's worked hard to ensure that its baby boxes meet British safety standards. Stephen Godden reports.
From the day he was born, Ashton Moore was a trailblazer.
He's just thriving.
His parents, Cheryl and Craig, receiving a baby box as part of the original pilot scheme in Orkney.
The neutral clothes, the new toys, the fresh bedding, all the best, the toys, the teethers, everything was fresh. It wasn't just necessarily a hand-me-down. Just a real good start to his life.
The inspiration for this policy comes from Finland. During the 1930s, the country introduced a policy which saw pregnant women given a box which had nappies and clothes in it, which could also be used as a bed for a baby. Today, Finland has one of the lowest rates of infant mortality. So to what extent is that to do with the baby box?
The scheme in Finland has contributed to a fall in infant mortality rates from 10% to 0.2%, one of the lowest in the world, showing how
It's been discussed in the Holyrood Chamber and on the SNP website, which says the Finnish model has a proven record of decreasing infant mortality. But this morning on a BBC programme, a cot death charity said they wouldn't endorse baby boxes.
There are a multiplicity of factors why infant mortality is lower in Finland, and it's not just to do with the box. The second issue is there is no safety standard anywhere in the world that covers a cardboard box to place your baby to sleep in.
A London-based charity, further inquiries were referred to the Scottish Cot Death Trust. They pointed to a lack of evidence either way, describing their position on the promotion of baby boxes as a safe place to sleep as neutral. The Scottish Government say they've never claimed the boxes would reduce cot death. What they have done, they say, is work hard to ensure they meet British safety standards for a domestic cot.
I think it's really important that parents understand that we have that safety standard accreditation for the baby box. Baby box is about to be rolled out nationally on the 15th of August, and I think it's very important that parents understand that what I think the Lullaby Trust are talking about are some of the more private enterprises who sell baby boxes.
Ready, go!
Baby boxes have had a bumpy introduction. What matters, say ministers, is that they help give children the best possible start in life. Stephen Gordon, reporting Scotland.
A 70-year-old man has been jailed for life. Edinburgh Airport says it has modified its proposals for changes to flight paths after the chief marshal at a rally approved the spot where a fan was standing shortly before 3 people died in a crash nearby. Research suggests around a third of black and ethnic minority people in Scotland have experienced discrimination within the last 2 years. The judge who headed the public inquiry into the Piper Alpha disaster. Police searching cliff tops on the Isle of Lewis for a missing tourist. Heart of Midlothian FC won't be able to play another match at their home ground until November at the earliest.